In this short video, we are going to look at the Gloucester Parliament of 1378. This was Richard's second Parliament during his reign and took place between the 22nd of October to the 16th of November of 1378. The key thing about this is that it took place in the city of Gloucester. Now, this idea might seem a bit alien to most people. Parliament is normally associated with Westminster in the centre of London. So why was Parliament held in Gloucester and away from Westminster? Well, there's one main reason. The Hawley Shackle affair had taken place in the heart of Westminster, right next to Parliament. Now, popular opinion was against the council's handling of the affair. So by having Parliament away from Westminster and away from the capital, they could take attention away from the whole debacle. And that's why Gloucester was chosen as a location. Now, we know exactly what happened at the Gloucester Parliament from a number of different sources. The primary ones are the parliamentary rolls from the Parliament itself and from the chronicle accounts. There's one different chronicle that we can use, though, to learn about this particular Parliament. It's translated from Latin. It was done in about 1867. And this source is from a monk who was at Gloucester Abbey at the time. So it says, King Richard stayed alternately at Gloucester Abbey and in Tewkesbury as he pleased. When he was at Gloucester, both he and his whole household lodged in the Abbey, which, what with them and Parliament, was everywhere so full up that the convent for some days ate in the dormitory. But afterwards it was judged to be more convenient to eat in the schoolhouse on both meat and fish days for the duration of Parliament, for reasons of absolute necessary, and on those days their food was produced in the orchard. Now, this chronicle extract is very different to the ones that we've looked at so far from the Anonymal Chronicle and from Thomas Walsingham. So there's a few questions for you to consider with the source that you've just looked at. So now it's on to the Parliament itself. There's a number of different topics that were discussed at the Parliament, and we're going to focus on two major aspects. The first and most important item that was discussed at the Parliament was how to deal with France following the debacle of Gaunt's fruitless expedition of that year. The man who was put in charge of speaking on behalf of the Council and of Richard II was Sir Richard Scrope, and he actively defended the Barbican policy that was already in place. By Barbican policy, we're meaning a process and a policy of building more castles in order for defence. Now, Scrope was on the defensive at the Parliament. The Council hadn't made effective choices with their French policy, and as a result, lots of their land in France had been lost and had been put under attack. Now, already up to this point, £46,000 had been invested into this project of Barbican. Now, he said that more needed to be collected to ensure the upkeep of their overseas port castles. So that included Brest and Calais and Bordeaux, and recently, with the deal that was made with Charles the Bad of Navarre, the port of Cherbourg. Scrope forcefully argued that this Barbican policy was necessary because otherwise we shall never have security or peace from our enemies, because they will then wage fierce war on us at our very doorsteps. Now, his case was heard and it was accepted by Parliament, unbelievably. And in the following year, in April of 1379, Parliament granted a second poll tax to raise more funds for this Barbican policy. The second major item that the Parliament discussed was which pope should England support. In 1378, something quite unusual happened with the Catholic Church. It had split in two. So this is known as the Great Papal Schism. And what it involved was two rival individuals both claiming that they were the rightful pope to the Catholic Church. The first was Urban VI, who is known as the Roman Pope, and the second was known as Clement VII, and he was based in Avignon in France. Now, what Parliament decided was that England should support Urban VI. He was the Roman Pope, he was the accepted Roman ruler of the Catholic Church, and that was the direction that they chose. It might have largely been influenced by the fact that France had supported the Avignon Pope, who was Clement VII. And as you can see in this map, this issue of the Great Papal Schism divided the whole of Europe. So you can see that the countries in blue supported the Roman Pope, Urban, and they're called the Urbanist countries. So you can see the Kingdom of England there, northern Italian states, the Kingdom of Hungary, the Kingdom of Poland, Denmark, Sweden, and to an extent the Holy Roman Empire as well. At the same time, France, Castile, Aragon, Naples, Scotland all supported the Clementist programme of the Avignon Pope. Now, what Parliament did was put their support for Pope Urban into statute law. Now, this meant that if anyone in England openly supported Pope Clement, they would be in serious trouble. How serious? Well, here is the actual statute law that was enacted in the Gloucester Parliament. It says that all the benefices, which means a title that was given to a church member, and other possessions which those same rebellious cardinals and all their other supporters shall be seized into the hands of our Lord King. What this essentially means is that if anyone within England or any parts of Europe supported the Clementist programme, then England, who supported Pope Urban, could seize all of their property. So this was a rather serious law, and this was something that had wide-ranging consequences. So in summary, there are a number of key points from the Gloucester Parliament. There are certain aspects that were discussed within that particular month that I haven't put on this video. For example, a mayor of London called Nicholas Brember fell out with one of John of Gaunt's younger brothers, a person called Thomas of Woodstock. But these are the three main conclusions that we can draw from the Gloucester Parliament. Firstly, England needed to find new ways to pay for their foreign policy, as it was beginning to divide the Commons, who were the ordinary knights, and the Council. The Second Council had been replaced by the Third, and as a result no criticism was directed towards the Second Council, despite the fact that they were in charge of England during Gaunt's fruitless expedition to France. And finally, France and Britain now disagreed over religious matters. England could find allies on religious grounds as well. So not only had they further divided themselves from France, they had also opened up new avenues with which they could make alliances with other parts of Europe.